Hi, Tom Cole for the Steve Taylor Community Star, and I always say it's an honor and a privilege, and it is, but even more so today. I've known this gentleman for over 40 years, Mr. Jeff Mielcarek, and he truly is a star in our community. And he'd hate me for saying this, of course. He's a very humble guy, but today we're going to talk about Jeff, his career as a CYO director for 30 plus years, basketball official, high school, 29 plus years, baseball coach, 30 plus years at Central Catholic, and now the tennis director at Twos, which is an incredible place. Jeff, welcome. Where did this feeling that you've had your entire life manifest itself, giving back and being part of the fabric of the community, whether it's an official, a coach, CYO director, any of those things? Where did that come from, Jeff?
Man, I've been blessed with starting with great parents, and it all began there. Growing up at St. Hyacinth, small parish in a very blue-collar area, and we all had to work really hard for what we got, starting under our roof and within our neighborhood. And I just always had a love for athletics, a love for our Catholic faith, and I've been blessed to be around the right people at the right time, like you, and just kind of taken every opportunity that's come my way and tried to make the most of it.
Well, you've certainly done that, Jeff, and more. Started out at Xavier for a couple of years, came home, went to the University of Toledo, finished up, got your degree. But I want to ask you, to me, it's so interesting, as a CYO director for, 34 years, 30 plus, CYO, it was and is such an important fabric of our community. You've heard the stories. You've heard a million of the stories of people coming up to you and saying, Jeff, my CYO coach or my CYO team experience. And I will tell you today, my CYO football coach, Mr. Gilbert, was the best coach I ever had, St. Pat's CYO. And maybe the best football experience I ever had. What does it mean to you when you get those stories? Because I know you get them.
Yeah, I mean, it's gratifying. I have said and actually continue to do some CYO coaches certifications, and I always tell coaches that you can go to the mailbox every day to get your check for coaching. Unfortunately, it's not going to be there. It comes down the road when people come up to you and say, hey, coach, remember when?
Right.
Or, coach, thank you for what you did. The lesson you taught me. And from my standpoint, sitting in the chair as the director of CYO, there certainly were a lot of challenging days where you get that call from that, hate to say it, but the psycho parent or
Right.
the psycho coach.
Right.
And there were a lot of times I had to remind myself of all the great things that are happening. That's why we're doing this. So it's gratifying. It's very meaningful. And as you said, the stories don't go away.
Oh, man.
They're great memories and great life lessons. And I just heard it again yesterday. They quoted Pat Summitt. I think Jim Tressel's been quoted, lots of people and I think it really rings true for CYO athletics. They really don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And as a CYO coach, a youth coach, that's really what kids are looking for.
Right.
The upbringing, the foundation. How much do you care?
You become a surrogate parent to some of those kids that just don't have that at home for whatever reason, no fault of their own. Maybe mom and dad split up, and maybe mom's working two jobs, and you become that. Unfortunately, Coach Val Glinka passed away the other day, and I'm sure you knew him well. I interviewed him a couple of times. Incredible coach. When I was reading the obit, I'm sure it jumped out at you. It struck me. And this guy was a great basketball coach. Won a state championship at St. Francis. And in the obit, it said he got his start, in which he would have never been a coach if it weren't for coaching CYO. And that is kind of the story of CYO, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Coach Glinka will be missed by many.
Right.
Many. I told the story over the last couple weeks. I pulled up to church for my dad's funeral in May, and there was Coach Glinka walking on the sidewalk. He was the first one there and talked to me and my brothers and my mom.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you talk about a blue-collar guy, you
Yeah.
talk about a positive guy. I mean, it didn't matter if he had a bad day of diabetes. He had a smile on his face,
That's absolutely
and
true.
it was,
That's absolutely true.
his morning, or
Yep.
whatever it was that he was going to say that day. And just a positive guy that started at JZU and
Yep.
got cut as a freshman in high school and could have easily hung it up and just kept opening doors for himself. And,
Yeah.
But a great CYO story for sure.
It is a remarkable CYO story. And I want to move into officiating, Jeff. You've been so prominent in Ohio high school officials in basketball, and you never really took it personally. You understood coaches, getting upset, being competitive. Talk about your view on officiating.
I mean, I love the game of basketball. I played basketball, but it was never great, especially in high school. This was a way that as a freshman in high school, again, an opportunity. I couldn't wait to officiate basketball, CYO basketball as a freshman in high school, and I just kept doing it. I think as a coach on another sport, it helps me to relate to coaches. It's just fun. I know that I'm okay, and I know every day when I go out there, there's a ton better officials in the stands, because I've never heard them miss a call yet or seen them. They get every single one right, and I don't know.
They're sharp under pressure up there, aren't they?
Really good. They got a much better view than me.
Yeah.
Their cardio must be better than mine at that time, but just kind of got to sit back and laugh and understand that they paid their $8 or whatever it is to get in, and they have a right to do some. They certainly crossed the line, which is hurting all athletics because people don't stay in officiating. I, along with many others in Northwest Ohio that have done it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that's just not happening anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons, but fans are a big reason.
Fans are a huge part of it. And kudos to you, Jeff, for the young people that you see. When I used to go to CYO games and my son and daughter played, which was a remarkable experience with great coaches. But the young kids you'd have roughing the games, it's their first indoctrination into it. They're trying to do it right. I thought, what a great growth experience. And there's a couple of knuckleheads up in the top row, that are going to yell at a 15-year-old kid who missed a traveling call that, who cares? But I think it's a great experience for the young kids to be officials.
Yeah, and continue to say it. I just said it on Monday night after a referee meeting here in Northwest Ohio that our CYO officials are certainly not the best. They don't know the rules inside and out, but they know two things that an adult that goes through an Ohio high school officiating class don't know. Our kids in CYO know how to blow a whistle, and it sounds funny, but it's hard to blow a whistle when you're running around.
Sure.
And they know how to get yelled at. And those two things are hard.
Yeah.
I mean, for the adult that's 30, 40, 50 years old that says, boy, I'd like to try officiating. My kids are now done playing. I'm going to try it. They probably know the rules inside and out better than the CYO referee does. But they don't know how to get yelled at on the court, and they don't know how to blow a whistle when they start. So very proud of our kids. I mean, they do a great job. And that knucklehead you referred to in the top row of the bleachers, more times than not, that knucklehead won't let his kid officiate when they get in high school because they understand.
Yeah,
it's hard.
That's a great point. Jeff, when I look up a phrase in a dictionary and if I look up gives back, I would find underneath that the picture of Jeff Mielcarek. You've spent a lifetime giving back. I've always admired and tried to follow a lot of the examples that you've put out there in the community. We're going to stop this portion of the interview, and then superstar Terry Crosby's going to talk to you, and he's going to be talking some baseball, Coach, so you got to be ready, okay?
I'll give him my best shot.
All right.
I am Terry Crosby, and it's such a pleasure to have you here today. Well, just tell us a little bit about, how do you think you've been able to achieve that over at Central High School?
I've been blessed to be at Central Catholic where there's a lot of really good players, a lot of good families, and I've been surrounded by a lot of good coaches. So I had a great upbringing. My dad, my high school coach, Coach Kober, who is still today like a second father to me. And then when I took over at Central Catholic, I was way younger than I probably should have been to do it. And I had great people here in town, George Philby at DeVilbiss, Rob Rose at Whitmer, Al Mosek at Rogers, along with my high school coach, Don Kober. And those guys kind of took me under their wing and helped me, and I was a sponge. Whatever they said, I listened to. So been very, very fortunate and blessed to be around people like that.
And 500 career wins, that is a lot of wins. So my thing is, when you win consistently, year after year after year, there's a certain ingredients that's behind that winning attitude or those winning records?
And I don't know that I have any recipe. Again, I've been very fortunate to be in the right spot. I've always thought it's important, and I've tried to stress with our coaches, relationships. And, you know, of course we want to teach them how to throw and how to hit and how to field. But to me, relationships will win some games as you go through the year.
Is that a relationship with your players?
With the players,
Okay.
the relationships. I just feel like it gives you more credibility. You might know a ton about hitting, but if you can't relate with a player, you're not going to get much out of that player-coach relationship. So do we always get a hit with every player? Heck no, but it's not because of lack of trying, and we make outs with players and we get right back in the box and try it again.
Yes.
Maybe a different approach, but try it again.
Yes. And yourself, Steve Taylor, Tom Cole, myself, we've all been athletes. And the thing that we really believe in is that we use athletics, sports, as a positive tool of engagement. So where I'm going with that is, I want you to maybe tell me how your coaching career over at Central Catholic has had a real positive impact on your players.
Well, I mean, the players are they take care of themselves. I like to believe that something we did outside of the field, meaning not how we taught them to hit or throw, but something else. We do something that we've done a long time. We actually take time to teach our kids how to respect the flag. We all do the national anthem identical, and we practice it. It sounds silly, but we take time at practice in the preseason once a week to practice the national anthem, to teach respect for our veterans and the flag. We teach our kids how to shake hands, which might sound silly, but not everybody knows how to shake hands and look somebody in the eye. We have little catchphrases and words, and when a kid comes back and shakes hand the right way, or I can see a kid at a game who's now a dad and standing for the national anthem the way that we expect that you do that, to me, those are the rewards. Those are the results of what they do. And if they're doing that in public, you know they're doing that in their family and other areas of life.
And you know something, Coach Jeff, that is some of the recipe of those winning ways, is building that character in these kids. And I can see you doing that over the years. And I just want to congratulate you, not only on your baseball career, but you ref and you play tennis, or you coach tennis. So you are very, very active in the community, and it's been such a pleasure to be able to sit down with you and just chop it up a little bit.
Well, believe me, the pleasure's been mine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. This is Terry Crosby. We're going to bring Steve Taylor on next.
Hey everybody, Steve Taylor here with Steve Taylor's Community Star. This week it's Jeff Mielcarek, and Tom and Terry have done a fantastic job talking a little bit about your background. We obviously know all your background with CYO, with coaching, and obviously Central Baseball. You know, going back a few years, I played a little baseball at St. John's, but got cut by Coach Nye. Coach Nye, if you're watching, maybe I would have had better luck going over to Central and playing with Coach Jeff over there. I wouldn't have got cut. You hear that thing about relationships there? And the important part of the coach-player relationship. Nye and I never got that. We never got that far. But you're doing great things in the community. What we love to do is bring on people that are sort of unsung heroes and doing all sorts of behind-the-scenes work. And like we said, you know, CYO, that's a tough position. You know, I played CYO growing up. My kids are involved in CYO. And I think, like you said, it's fantastic for kids to get an opportunity to play sports, but probably a thankless position, and probably you've got a lot of stories you could share. In officiating, you know, Tom and Terry both talked about that. And the baseball, the wins, it's unbelievable. And like you're so humble, you know, as you sit and watch this interview, you're so humble, and you give thanks to everyone around you. But we know that you're doing a lot too. So we wanted to recognize you and tell you, you know, thank you for all you've done in our community. Now I want to talk about this next chapter, and two is the old Laurel Hill. You're managing that, and they're doing great things in the community also, and trying to get more people involved in tennis. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, again, very, very blessed to be at two, surrounded by great people again, starting with our owners, Cleves and Kathy Delp, and a great team of tennis professionals, Mark Faber, Kim Pasella, Connor Magellani, and Andy Rodriguez, and they just do good stuff. I tell people, and and this isn't humble, this is the truth, I just stay out of the way. I mean, I clean up some messes, literal messes, when there's garbage or something, but we are having a lot of fun. We're doing a lot of neat things with anywhere from kids from 4 years old, 3 years old to 80, 90-year-old senior citizens. Wheelchair, huge thing. Thank you for your support of that. I mean, our wheelchair program is going very well. Lots of room to grow. So we're just continuing to look for ways that we can better assist people, I guess, in our community with athletic activities, fitness activities. We just added a squash club within our club. So Cleves and Kathy, our owners, don't let the grass grow underneath them. I mean, we're constantly on to the next thing, as you well know, and what you do in the community.
Oh, they're doing a great job over there. I've been in the tennis community for a long time in Northwest Ohio. My daughter actually is involved. She's been over there playing in a few tournaments. And I will tell you, this is fantastic. You sent my wife a nice email after you met her for the first time, and it's those little things. I can tell you're an attention to detail guy, but it's the little things that make a big difference, and you are making a big difference in our community. We're so lucky to have you. I always like asking people that come on a show, is there a memory that you might have, whether it's from your coaching career, or maybe something at Twos recently, but is there something that sort of defines you and the giving back to Northwest Ohio, or a funny story, or something that maybe people would get to know you a little bit better?
You know, I'm not a real funny guy. I always tell the story of one of my first years as director of CYO, and my office was like all of our offices in the old auto club. So we were on the corner of 16th and Jefferson, all glass windows. And I got a phone call with that distinctive voice. It was Monsignor Jerome Schmit, and he had an office on the 4th floor. And basically all he did is say, I need you to come up to my office. And I tell people, it was like my heart was racing. Monsignor Schmit needed to see me. It was like getting called to the principal's office. And I was so nervous, and that was diffused, because really all he wanted to do was say hi and give me some tickets to Children's Wonderland to pass out to kids. And I always remember that because of how nervous I was and how he turned it around so quickly. And the bottom line was, all he wanted to do was give. And I learned so much in a short time that I was able to work around Monsignor Schmit. I learned a lot from my parents. I learned a lot from coaches. Monsignor Schmit, to me, is a legend in this town, and I was blessed to be able to work around him for a while. So to me, that's a story I'll never forget. I always just strive. I never wanted to disappoint Monsignor with what we did in CYO.
Sure. Well, obviously it's working, and you followed suit, and the giving mentality is there with you. We appreciate all you've done for our community. Thank you for being on the show today, and keep up the great work, Jeff.
Thank you very much for all you do.
Sure thing. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Steve Taylor's Community Stars. If you know somebody that's doing the great work behind the scenes that you'd like to see on the show, reach out to Tom, Terry, or myself. We'd love to have them on the show. Thanks again, Jeff. Take care.